I reflect on my reflection, and I ask myself the question, what is the right direction to go? I don't know. Am I a man or am I a Muppet? If I'm a Muppet, then I'm a very manly Muppet. Am I a Muppet or am I a man? If I'm a man, that makes me a Muppet of a man. And I look into those eyes and I don't recognize the one that I see inside. It's time for me to decide. Am I a man or am I a Muppet? If I'm a Muppet, then I'm a very manly Muppet. Am I a Muppet or am I a man? Because if I'm a man, then I'm a Muppet of a man. Here I go again. I'm always running out of time. But I think I've made up my mind. Now I understand who I am. I'm a man. I'm a Muppet of a man. In fact, I am a Muppety man. Welcome to this week's after party. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I am your host, Garrett Hicks, and I'm joined this evening by our campus minister, Carly Bossi, and the director here at the Catholic Student Center at USF, Father Justin Paskert. How are you guys doing this evening?
Doing well.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not having any existential crisis, so that's good.
No, me neither, which is great.
Yeah.
But just, we've been getting very artistic around here with our expressions, so
Yes.
That's what quarantine will do to you.
Yes.
But as always, we're going to start with a prayer. So, Father Justin, if you would.
Let us pray. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Come, Holy Spirit. Lord, we give you thanks for the end of this semester. In this time of transition, in our schooling, going into summer, time of transition for our country, for the world. Lord, help us to know that you are near, to be our guide, our companion. Jesus, we trust in you. We ask this through your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
It feels weird being on this side. I don't know about you.
It's a little weird for me over here. Yeah.
You didn't have to move, so.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
The corner is very cozy. I feel very exposed being in the armchair.
Yeah.
But
I get to finally look at all my books, so that's nice.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
you don't.
They actually need to be organized a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I never realized how messy they are right now.
Are you gonna put them into like categories?
Well, they've been by the Library of Congress organization, but I think I'm going to go back to the tried and true Dewey
Dewey.
Decimal.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you have some pretty wonderful artwork to look at now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
It's pretty nice.
Whole perspective changes.
Yes.
Everything.
Yeah.
I could see why you wanted to show these off. Like I wasn't wasn't even noticing that.
Yeah. They are quite nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely. How's this week been for you guys?
Pretty good. It's end of the semester, so like we would have had a bunch of commencements that we would have gone to, hearing the same speech over and over again.
Yeah.
And never would have thought I would have missed it, but wouldn't to go to at least one, but not having those was a little down. But we did start daily mass public, so because we've been having mass all the time, but now having people here has been quite wonderful. still a lot of people haven't seen yet, so still looking forward to that. But definitely looking forward to everybody getting more and more together and receiving communion and yeah.
How was that on Monday, that first Mass?
It was a little disorientating, just like not being used to seeing people there and talking to a camera. Like that was an adjustment. I didn't realize or appreciate that people being there again. It's just like, hey, I was kind of here like talking to myself, reminiscing, and now you're actually here and there's somebody in front of me to talk to. And then do I talk to the camera or do I talk to the people there?
Right.
It's a little strange.
Yes, very strange. But this didn't happen on Monday, but Tuesday and today, there was a baby at Mass, and that was just super wonderful. I was really happy to see a little one, just because we haven't seen a baby at Mass in a really long time, and I
haven't seen anybody at Mass, but
yeah,
most
but
especially
specifically babies. And
Yeah.
It's just like this is everything I needed. Who knew? But that was a joy. for sure.
Everybody maintain distance from the child.
Yes, from
Yeah.
the child, but
and everybody else. Yeah.
Right.
But man, that was cute. And also, everyone else there was really wonderful too.
Yeah. It was interesting seeing everybody come back for the first time in such a long time, and all of us who have been here throughout this, kind of just like us together.
Yeah.
That being like our everyday life, but seeing people who haven't been around for a long time, and just seeing, I know Emily spoke on this, but just the look in their eyes, being such a complicated mix of emotions.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and what we do here is important, and it's just like it's not life being apart from the sacraments. And, yeah, and it's like we being here together, kind of being close to the chapel through all of this is one thing, but it wasn't normal for us. But then comes what is it's like what was like being separated and then finally coming back and getting to share that with people. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And a lot of people were looked pretty unsure about what that, just coming back into this. It's like, everybody's a bit nervous.
Yeah. Yep. And certainly it's like we get into routines and it's like everything's always a little different each time, and it's okay, what do we do today? And it's just like it's so hard to just relax and be when you're constantly trying to be aware of what you're touching, what you're doing, and who's around you. And and then it's like kind of learned how to pray in a certain way, I think, during all of this. And it's like, okay, now getting to come back to Mass and it's like be with the Lord sacramentally. I think that's something we're all trying to figure out too.
Yeah. I think we have a birthday this week.
Yes.
But we're, like you said, we're getting into ordination season.
Yes, we
It's
are.
another thing that's been kind of...
I said that earlier off air. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Commencements, ordinations, and such being kind of messed up right now, but...
Busy time of year.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we have some cause for celebration.
Yes.
And so we have one birthday and 3 ordination anniversaries to celebrate. So Rose has a birthday.
Yes. On Sunday, I believe. Yes.
Happy
Sunday.
birthday, Rose.
Yes.
Happy birthday. So we'll be singing happy birthday for Rose. Happy birthday.
Happy
birthday to you. To you. We're going to yodel it. All right.
You go for it.
All right.
We got that.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rose. Happy birthday to you. Happy ordination
Anniversary to
you. Happy ordination anniversary to you. Happy anniversary of your ordination. Dear Bishop Emeritus Robert Lynch and Father Mike Smith, today, both of them, and Father Justin coming up soon. Happy
ordination anniversary
to you.
Classic.
If you could not tell, we rehearsed that.
Yes.
So long. It took forever.
And I'm glad that it all paid off because it is
That
exactly
went
how we
really
rehearsed.
well,
It's just extra, it's artistic.
yeah. Exactly.
Something's off about that.
Your guitar? Maybe it's the capo always on it.
Maybe.
Throwing things off.
Wait, hold on. Jazz me. All right, so starting off, we have a question. What is one of the most underrated saints, in your opinions?
Interesting.
Interesting.
I mean, they're saints, so are they really underrated? I know what
They
they're going
can
for,
be,
I'm
but
gonna throw this out. I think the Blessed Mother's underrated.
ooh, yeah, absolutely.
As much as we get criticized for giving too much emphasis, I still think it's underrated. Take Our Lady of Fatima.
Mhm.
It's an optional memorial. It's like, what is that about?
How dare they? Like, actually. Okay.
And then, and how significant of an event
Mm-hmm.
that was. Certainly had an impact when it happened. But the message of Fatima, and then the impact of the man in white getting shot, and then John Paul II being shot in St. Peter's, and it's just like this whole century or the 20th century belonged to her, and it's just like that's a big deal, and like she kind of predicting and talking about everything that was going to happen, and has really been happening.
Yeah.
And then we all just kind of forget it.
Mhm.
So I'm going to say that's underrated. Our Lady of Fatima.
Underrated. You heard it here.
Officially.
Yeah.
Our Lady of Victory is underrated too.
Ooh, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
Also known as Our Lady of the Rosary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would you like to explain why?
So the battle
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The battle.
the Battle of Lepanto. I'm not getting the wrong ones mixed up here, right?
Lepanto.
This is the Battle of Lepanto, correct?
Somebody else can fact check.
I'm pretty sure that I'm right about this.
Our producer said it's true.
The producer says it's true. Okay, it must be fact. A monumental battle that pretty much saved Christianity in its entirety, and saved the Western world,
Yeah.
attributed to our mother, and so many. I mean, it's just like too much to explain in a short little description. But this like fantastic naval battle with all of the Catholic kingdoms in Europe coming together under the Pope and fighting this just like crazy miraculous battle that they definitely should have lost, and it's just read about the Battle of Lepanto. It's very cool.
Yep.
Very cool history. And then also, if you're into literature, Miguel de Cervantes, who wrote
Don Quixote.
Don Quixote, he was in the Spanish Navy at the time, and he was in the Battle of Lepanto.
I did not
Fun
know that.
fact.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Another fun fact, I have been in a reenactment of the Battle of Lepanto. Would not recommend.
Our
Like,
producer
was this
Emily
like
has been
out in the ocean,
reenactment.
the Mediterranean,
No.
in a swimming pool?
The Potomac River.
Okay.
Are there videos of this?
No, thank
Dang
goodness.
Interesting.
Sounds like fun. I
Yeah,
don't-
I agree.
I mean, drowning as a danger, real possibility.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with my girl, St. Catherine Labouré.
Mhm.
I feel like every time I tell people that she's my confirmation saint, they're like, wait, which one's that? Because there's so many St. Catherines.
Yeah.
But St. Catherine Labouré is the one who Mary appeared to reveal the image for the miraculous medal. And just the story of how that impacted France and then the world during that time was just super beautiful. And people just often don't realize that, like, the person who, like, helped to create this medal, like, she's a saint, and she's wonderful, and I don't have my keys on me, but I have a little tiny saint, and she has a really wonderful habit, so underrated.
So I got to celebrate Mass at the chapel where her relics are,
That is so cool.
and celebrate Mass there in Paris. Yeah, thanks. And if you don't have a miraculous medal, come to the office. I have plenty.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Paris, and I didn't know that St. Catherine Labouré was there, so I missed her, and I'm really upset about that. But it's okay. One day I'll go back.
Definitely underrated.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
So underrated, you didn't even know where she was.
I didn't even know where she was.
Yeah.
You would never get away with that with
Mhm.
like Saint Faustina.
Oh yeah, no,
Never.
never ever. Problem.
Yeah.
Justice for Saint Catherine Labouré.
Go look her up. She's wonderful.
And the miraculous medals everywhere. So like that's
Everywhere.
something that
Mhm.
Yeah,
everybody knows.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about the miraculous medal.
Right.
No one knows about St.
Just like
Catherine.
everybody knows about.
And
you
to be
know,
honest, that's probably the way she'd wanted it.
Probably, yes.
True.
Yeah.
But we don't have to let that happen.
Right?
You know,
I'm not gonna let that happen.
we can, you know, give her an exercise in humility by
Right.
doing the
Mhm.
opposite.
Exactly.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
It's not about her, so
Mhm.
what she wants doesn't matter.
It's true.
I love that line. How many times I've been tempted to say that? Just
It's not about you.
it's Sorry, what you want just doesn't matter. Actually.
It's very helpful sometimes.
Mm.
The amount of times I heard that through seminary,
Mm.
probably once a week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's good to keep in your mind.
Yes.
You start forgetting it, and then problems start.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I don't really know if I'm trying to make a segue out of that. It's not happening. But something that we were looking at today was you had that Instagram filter up.
Yes.
Well, okay, here's the segue. It was, you will, in the future, be the patron saint of,
Right.
and it would like cycle through stuff.
Mhm.
You know, apparently I'm going to be the patron saint of tan lines in the future. And Eric will be the patron saint of minivans.
Yeah.
And so
That was hilarious.
That was really
It's-
good. It's still on my story if you want to go
yeah.
see it.
I was sitting right next to him. I did not get the full effect of his facial expression.
That's
He's
why I
just
kept it up.
Hmm. Hmm.
So after that, you got the idea.
Yep. So I thought, okay, if Blessed is She can do it, shout out Blessed is She, then the CSU should do it too. And so came up with the idea to, we have a lot of different aesthetics here at the CSU.
Subcultures,
Yes,
for sure.
subcultures, and just everything kind of meshes together, but then when we pick them out a little bit, they kind of get really funny or just really fun in general. I think, did it just go up?
Okay.
Okay,
Well, we still have
We still have audio,
so
so-
we're gonna keep going. We have to switch out the batteries in the camera.
Every
Just
now and
just
then.
FYI. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
All right, we're
It's
back. Cool.
you know.
Uh,
It is what it is.
Yeah, that's good. So we decided to make an Instagram filter, which Emily's also working on right now, that kind of highlights some of the subcultures of the CSU, kind of as a way to, if you're not currently a part of this community, give you an idea of what this community's like, and it's going to be a really great time. Some of them are more serious, some of them are just really funny. So I hope you enjoy it. It should be available at some point this evening. So go check out our Instagram And
The pressure's
I'm
on
not there.
Emily.
Yeah.
Sometime
Sometime this
to-
evening, or maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Be patient.
It'll
You
definitely
know-
be before midnight tonight.
It'll
Yes.
definitely be ready
11:59.
before the stream is over.
Before she sleeps again next,
Yes.
so 7 a.m.
That could mean any time within the next 2 days.
Yes. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Mhm.
I'm excited to see what people get.
It'll be like you said, that the freshmen
Mm-hmm.
coming in. It would be cool.
Yeah.
I feel like they would be very confused.
Yes, very confused, but they'll get
It's
a
like
little
a
sorting hat.
Sorting hat, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Which group chat are they supposed to be plugged into?
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it'll be great.
Eric was joking around earlier. He's like, "Congrats, John, you are a Veiler." Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So
Don't want to
it's gonna be great.
spoil the categories too much,
Yeah. No.
but it's fun. Yeah, it's definitely a cool idea. And we got something else exciting new. We got our
Oh, would you like me to unveil these?
please. So this is something you want to go ahead and show
So
these.
this is something me and Garrett have been talking about for quite some time.
A long time.
I think it's about a year at this point. Is this was really for men's groups? So sorry, ladies, you have to find your own cool thing to have. But so a lot of tactical
Good luck.
gear comes with Velcro swatches that you can put patches on, and so we made our own customized patch. So we took the Field of Blue and put our CSU logo on it, so that it is a 1.5 by 2 Velcro patch, very high quality, custom made.
You get the idea.
Yep.
It's got our logo in there.
And
I
so
tried.
I think it works.
Yeah.
So this is for our men's group, but we could probably turn it into a fundraiser if somebody else really wants it.
Mm-hmm.
But
We've got a few of them.
these showed up. So as part of like the our men's group process of kind of going through the initiation into masculinity, this is one of those things that help us along the way.
Mm-hmm. We got people trying to communicate via Morse code in the next room over. It's okay.
They're not doing it very well. But
Yeah. I don't know what that means, but yeah. So before we get too far into that, I think there's some reflection to be made based off of our men and women's group over this past year. But we have some our Quarant memes ready to go for this week,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll pull them up here so you guys can see them on my computer. But continuing in the tradition of memes expressing what's going on in our new lives. Let's see. Where's the... Alright. So, which one we got first? Alright. So, this was a meme that...
Oh yeah, this one was mine.
Yeah.
So came across this one. As you might be aware, The Office is making a comeback on Netflix right now, and so lots of memes are being produced. And so this also was right on the heels of a conversation with my brother, when asking, it's like, hey, do you want to continue homeschooling your kids or send them back? And it's like, no, I'm done with school. So it's like, what? Since they've made the switch, I think they're kind of done with it. So my nieces and nephews have different opinions on the topic, but then I came across this, and suddenly, like, all of these gigantic things that we spend lots of money on, suddenly we learn how to live without.
College? What?
What?
Professors?
None necessary.
Classrooms? Mm-hmm. Yep, I feel that. And then next we have a little, we're talking about school, starting to get a little political. So we got a little political cartoon up here, but this one's fun. This is wholesome. So the Bernie campaign got turned into a bunch of funny little memes, and so when the prodigal son returns home to his father, I'm once again asking you for your financial support. / anytime any college student goes home to their parents, pretty much. And so Theo sent me one based on this that's very applicable to his experience with him and Stephanie being liturgical coordinators. So this is pretty much their life.
You might have had that encounter, yeah.
Yeah. This has been their lives for the past year, basically.
And I appreciate all you who make yourselves available.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And great improvement.
Yeah.
Since, I mean, there's always those stressful moments, but at least we're not scrambling to get mass ready, 2 minutes after it's supposed to start every
Right.
week.
Yeah, and we have the students here wanting to be involved, but
Yeah.
just doing the legwork of getting them connected.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
It seems like this year has been very sus. Every month has brought a new plague. And so this meme is just kind of expressing that, just being a little bit suspicious. And,
Suspicious of the new month.
it's like May starts. Okay.
What's
What is it going to be?
next?
Locusts this time?
Mm,
I think we need a tidal wave.
A tidal wave. That would be
that'd
cool.
be pretty cool.
That would be fun here in Tampa. And then the next one is just, we're figuring out what life is like here in quarantine. So figuring out what our new favorite activities are going to be.
Yep.
Fencing, we discovered is the ultimate pandemic sport because you wear a mask, gloves, and if somebody comes within 6 feet of you, you stab them.
Sounds great.
That's how you win.
That's a good life skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, life just in general, enter my personal space,
Mm-hmm.
pay the consequences.
And then I think you look like our next meme.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got too close to somebody.
Next meme, please. Yep. It's just a scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is but a flesh wound.
Offered it.
I feel like we've all been there, had that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You end up with a titanium leg. You never know.
These happen.
These things happen. They do.
And
Well-
somehow, filters figured out I had a dog, so now I see lots of things with dogs in them, like the algorithms.
Ads and such.
Yeah. And it's like, why do they think I need a dog training program in Tampa? But then I get memes like this, which is how not to wear a mask. A helpful guide. My favorite is when somebody comes up to talk to you and pulls down their mask to speak right into your face.
That's exactly what the masks are for.
Yeah, that this moment is what they're for, and
Mhm.
somehow
I've been
we get them out of the way.
Yeah, people in stores, I've seen this. People will go up to something that they're trying to look at, like a product, and they will pull down their mask and squint their eyes. Like pulling the mask down is helping them see.
That's like turning on the radio in the car to find something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what?
The mask is really the distraction.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what it is.
What they want to do is stroke their beard while they're thinking, but they don't.
But
have
they're, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean,
Wait, can you do the beard stroking again now that we're not on the memes? Yeah, thank you.
just like this. So, See,
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's not as, yeah, that's good.
right? But you could wear a mask and then do it
Mm-hmm. And just pull the mask down
Yeah.
as you go. Yep.
as you're talking.
this is the true pro of getting this chair.
Yes,
That you get the lightsaber.
that's the Emperor's chair, and so
It's Darth Vader's seat.
I think I should sit there next time.
interesting.
Just rotate every week.
You have to take it. It's only for the strong enough.
How do you hold this?
With
Maybe-
your hand.
So Emily was looking at this earlier. That's not they spin these,
It's
right?
also sticky.
Well, yeah, that's just because the rubber is getting old. But
It's been through 40 years of, like, galactic wars.
yeah,
Just random
Lots of,
space
like,
debris.
Killed and
Animals.
aliens is the word I'm looking for.
It's had 3 different owners too.
Yeah.
At least 4 at least.
How often do you think it gets cleaned?
You should always clean your weapon. Come on.
A Jedi's weapon deserves more respect.
It should be self-cauterizing, but then it gets like put in some chest for 20 years, then gets chopped off with a hand and ends up in another chest for another 20 years.
It's been through a lot.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Never been charged. That's how good the battery is.
how you do all the spinny stuff with this clunky rubber thing on it.
So
Practice.
can I point out something? So light does not have weight.
Yes.
Okay. So this is important physics lesson. Center point of balance is, oh, look at that, right in the middle of the hilt. So if you're moving this with a blade made out of light, it carries no weight, and your balance is here directly in the middle of your hilt. Now watch every Jedi ever fight with a lightsaber. They're lugging around something that has weight out here. It should be an entirely different form of saber fighting. I've wrecked every Star Wars movie for you. I'm sorry.
Man, I don't know if I can enjoy Star Wars.
We need to
anymore.
call somebody.
Yeah.
We need to let the whole world
The
know.
whole world.
Yeah, I
Let
read.
everyone you know know.
They're extremely heavy too. Like
Yeah.
the lightsabers are supposed to be like 6 or 7, 8 pounds. I read that Kylo Ren's is really, really heavy, which is why he's always like. But
But he's also just moody, you know?
yeah,
I feel like that would.
it suits him,
affect it,
but it's
yeah.
poorly made and it's crude, and
Mm.
so it's like real heavy and it barely works. It's crackling, all that.
Mm.
Yep.
I feel like somebody could have taught him how to properly make one somewhere along the way, but
I'm pretty sure he was.
I don't know.
You didn't listen.
Yeah.
Classic.
What are you going to do?
You can only do so much. You can lead the horse to water.
Yeah.
But
And I'll also say they're not 6 or 7 pounds because you see them hanging on belts. Hang 7 pounds on your belt. See what happens. You'd get a chest harness or something that weighs 7 pounds, and it would ride right about there.
mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Just have a lightsaber hilt
Yes.
chest harness.
Mhm.
Yeah.
On God.
Yep.
So men's group. So okay. So backtracking, we have our patches, right?
Yes.
And so that's something that, like you said, we were working on for the men's group.
Yes.
We've talked a little bit reflecting on this year. So I just wanted to get some thoughts on, the trajectory of men's group and women's group over this past year and what you guys think about that growth.
Men and women's group.
Man as women's men's and yes.
Words are hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on wrapping up this year, looking back on men's group and past couple of years?
I think it's a needed part of our ministry to have kind of a place where we can gather together as men, as women, be able to speak, to preach the gospel into particular issues connected with our masculinity, femininity. And I think there's a need for clarity, but I don't necessarily know that all of that clarity is necessarily given. I think there's still a lot of space for us to talk about it. And so there's an inherent goodness, which I think we do well, is kind of getting together. But then having I think something we can work on as a community is a little more of like what are the questions and being able to dive more into like what might be helpful ways of understanding this and moving forward in the questions that we have because I have zero expectation that you're going to find any help in the culture.
Right.
I would say that we definitely like getting together as women has also been a wonderful aspect of women's group, and something that we've been working on this year that we kind of started last summer was reflections on the men's group crest and the women's group seal. So creating the women's group seal and then making reflections on those, and then also just topics that go along with these things within the crest and the seal, and kind of providing that as an aspect of how to lead our men and women. And I think that's something that we kind of started introducing this year, and I'm excited to kind of dive deeper into that.
Keep exploring that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have those pulled up, and so for those who are not familiar, we can go ahead and cut to first we have the women's group seal. So Carly, would you like to explain that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 4 main aspects of the image that I'll kind of touch on, and then the motto at the bottom is Mulieres Factum Matrum, and that is woman becoming mother. And so the basis of the seal is the Immaculate Heart of Mary. So we have the heart, which kind of symbolizes myself, the ego. So the mastery over self, and then we have the vine in the middle with the fruits. So the mastery over the fruits, and then thank you. And then we have the flame, and so that is like our hearts being set ablaze with love. And then within that like holding the heart are these hands. And so these hands are to represent a few different things. So the woman offering her heart as a gift, the Lord holding the heart, peering deeply into it, loving it, seeing it as the diadem, the jewel, the crown of his creation. And then also these hands are kind of shaped in the shape of a womb. So this is the beautiful aspect of motherhood, that we are able to have life within us, but also motherhood not just physically but spiritually. So that's kind of the basis of the women's group seal. Oh yes, that also.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, they can see that.
Yeah. So it also kind of one hand is supposed to be larger than the other, but I don't know if you can.
Not this disproportionate, but
yeah, but
it's supposed to be a little more
like that. Yeah.
You got to switch back to us.
Yeah.
No, to us.
Yeah.
We have to show them.
I'm sorry. I don't know.
Here we are.
Yep.
Hey.
There it is.
There it is.
Yep.
So, I don't know if you can see that, but how like the two hands would come together.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of kind of seeing that masculine character and the feminine character in the hands.
Yep.
Right. And so, the women's group seal and the men's group crest were definitely made with each other in mind.
Yes.
And so if we pull up, we have the men's group crest, and Father can kind of explain a little bit more about that, as well as what the men's group crest entails.
So this as a shield is to represent the man in his entirety. So that he is the shield, right? And so as a shield, there is the thing behind it that you want to protect, and then the danger in front of it, right? And so the shield being comprised of some virtues. So at the very top it has the motto, Vir Factum Patrum. And so man becoming father. So that being the mission. So when I ask the question of what does it mean to be a man, well, a man is the one who is ready to become a father. And so that becoming the shield, becoming the one who's living and appropriated the identity of my masculinity in that mission. And so there's lots of other things you could do, but they don't really answer the question of masculinity. And so that the end of the man is always towards fatherhood. But fatherhood by its nature is not something that you can just give yourself. The work is to become the man that's ready to become a father. That we are not the giver of lives, that is God. And so the man who's ready to give himself to his bride, and in that act of giving, is that gift of life and family. So then the shield, divided in 4 quadrants, has at the very center that makes the 4 quadrants a cross. And so masculinity as the cross he carries. And then the 4 virtues. And so on the bottom right corner is the sword. And so all of these are communal in nature. So the sword as the soldier, as opposed to like the warrior. So somebody who's good at fighting, as opposed to the one who works with the army in the brotherhood. Right? So that's where in that category is where our patches come in. These colors don't run, so like the always going forward into battle. The next bottom is on the left is the worker, as opposed to like the craftsman, the artist. So somebody can be super talented and do great works, and sometimes you're given those gifts, but the calling of every man would be the one who builds his house and is able to defend it, right? And that somebody working together can build the Empire State Building, but there's only one Michelangelo who painted the Sistine Chapel. So like that our masculinity in the need for working together, being able to do something greater than ourselves, but you're laboring for a purpose, which is to build a home and to be able to protect it. So then once you have your home, then it is being the spiritual guide for the home. And so the upper right is a cowl of a monk. So it's kind of the spiritual fatherhood, being a leader in prayer, which means first we need to be able to pray ourselves and then be able to lead other people spiritually. And then the last one, the upper left, is the Sacred Heart. So this is the crucified love. This is the heart of a spouse. And so that heart is one that gives himself away in such a way as it's life-giving. But I mentioned the whole thing's a shield, but the heart's on the outside of the shield, so you're not protecting yourself. So your vulnerability isn't for protecting your own ego and whatever, like your own labors and strength for yourself, but for your spouse, your family that is behind it. So that's kind of the 2 images that we use as kind of the guides for our men and women's groups.
Mm-hmm. Long story short, the act of becoming a father, not as easy as you might think.
No, it is not.
There's levels to this.
Yes. Yeah. And, they all ask the question, it's like, well, at what point am I ready? Mm-hmm. Like, do I know what I have, what it takes, And in some ways, it's like, how do you know, like, okay, if I have a house, can I take care of it? Like, do I need to always call somebody else? I think you can switch from the crest, Emily. But the like, if I have a house, it's like, can I take care of it, or do I need somebody else to come do that for me? Mm-hmm. So at a certain point, it's like, I might not want to have to fix things that break, but that I can do it if needed.
Yeah.
And so that confidence of knowing, like, I have what it takes. So like the soldier, in some ways, is like, well, there's being afraid of those spiritual battles, and then there's getting into it and knowing you survived it. And I was like, okay, don't necessarily like it, but I know what that's like, and like I've been through my first battle. I can face other ones if they come.
Yeah. MC is a big fan of the patches. She wants to know what she's going to have to do to get one.
So probably money, Emily. So we haven't come up with a dollar amount yet, but I think it'll be a fundraiser.
Yeah. I think men, particularly young men, are always eager to try and prove themselves, have that desire, and so I think the crest gives them a lot of concrete things to look at, but incorporating all of those things at the same time into becoming like that well-rounded father figure is really the challenge.
You're right, because all of them come together, and it's like, okay, well, I want to prove myself, which is natural, but then, well, to what end? Which is why we need to remember fatherhood. It's like, well, if they paint that picture, then that's where I'm trying to get. Whereas I might want to prove myself on the sports field. It's like, okay, but how does that fit in? In that it might fit in the brotherhood, the striving together, in a lot of things, but it's like, not to be a man isn't to be great at sports, right? But that doesn't mean sports can't be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or like, I want to prove myself to like the women specifically, and just like focus on, it's like, oh, I can, the kind of desire for, what the dating scene, or
like what you're even trying to present. And this is kind of something I've brought to the women's group when I've talked to them. There is it's like sometimes our women don't know what they're looking for, and so you're trying to present yourself in a way that you think you're showing them what they want, and it might actually be something detrimental. And in a sense, rewarding bad behavior.
What?
That doesn't happen. As opposed to like, well, if this is even for women, like if they see these virtues as like, encourage these, in raising sons, same thing.
Yeah, a topic of much discussion in this community.
Baby.
Yeah, well, so we have the men's group and the women's group, and I think a lot of times, so as was mentioned, these are interconnected. Like, they are intrinsically connected to one another. Their identities are, facing one another, and so I think sometimes the focus can really shift from, maybe understanding our crest, our seal, to like, okay, well, that's cool, but I'd rather focus on how I relate to the opposite side. And so that's when that naturally comes up then.
Right. And in a sense, it's forgetting that all of that is orientated to the opposite. That there's the complementarity of it. And, it's like, and there's being lonely on Saturday night, and then there is the work of becoming something more. Right? Like, those are two separate things. And in a lot of ways, if we just kind of took a step back and asked the question, as like, am I ready to get married? I think most of our college students would say no. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well then, like, what's supposed to magically happen between here and there? Like, oh, that I somehow get my act together? Well, we're talking about getting your act together. It's like, if you want to be ready, like, if I want to enter into the depths of what this type of relationship makes possible, well, then that asks something of me. As opposed to, well, I'm lonely, I want some attention or somebody to give me the warm fuzzies. well then this is something that like you're going to do violence to the relationship,
Yeah.
and it becomes about something else. And it's like, well, if it's about something else and you're asking girls out and they say no, they're probably doing you a favor.
I think the prospect of the relationship is seen as the solution.
Right. I'm lonely. This person will fix it. If you need another person to fix it, you're taking your problems with you.
Yeah. How do I get there to the point where I'm ready? It's like, oh, well, I have to date. And that's how I'll get to the point where I'm ready.
Yeah. And there is, I would say, some wisdom to that, in that another human being, if they have the freedom and the access to your ugly side, can point out like how terrible you are and help you work on things.
Mm-hmm.
Great. But that's also what the brotherhood's for,
Yeah.
what the sisterhood's for. And if we have these conversations, there's a lot of ability to speak to those things outside of dating as well.
And, may I dare add, holy friendships
Mm-hmm.
between men and women also.
Yes.
What a
Because,
concept.
right,
Yeah.
because we talk about that as if those are the only options.
Yeah.
You date, or you have your brotherhood, and you have your sisterhood.
Yeah.
And there's no...
So what does a holy friendship look like?
Mm.
I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking.
Please.
Well, I would say that a holy friendship is between a man and a woman looks like a holy friendship between a woman and a woman and a man and a man. Like, it's just there shouldn't. I mean, there's going to be some differences.
An enemy?
I said it correctly. But I would say, like, there will be some differences just because of the differences between men and women. But to recognize those differences, and also to be able to grow, like, in your identity, and being comfortable with opposite sex, I think, is also something that comes from being in good holy friendships. I think that it's a good opportunity to like learn how to goof around and just like have fun, but also dive deeper into like, who am I in relation to this person? Yeah, that's I'd say that's kind of like what that would look like. I'm trying to think of like practicals, but like we have.
I'll throw out something. If we could turn to my boy St. Francis, one of the aspects of his life I really appreciate is the Holy Buddy system. And a beautiful young woman entered into his life who was the daughter of a nobleman. And when she wanted to join this charismatic person who's like living in a collapsed church and wearing a burlap bag, his first condition was, okay, if you're going to be here, you got to cut off your hair. And so step one, shaves her head. And then
No.
No, Emily.
No.
she doesn't do it, he does it to her. And you gotta have St. Francis do it. Like, and so then comes she starts entering into this way of life. Assisi is a small town, and so the rumor mill, like any small town, got working, and they had a beautiful, profoundly spiritual relationship. But everybody's wondering, like, hey, they're spending a lot of time together, off like in the woods praying and looking at the stars and singing poetry, and certainly there's more going on here. And so when you go to Assisi, there is a beautiful garden full of roses. That is a unique variety of roses that have no thorns on it. And so as the story goes, when kind of praying and all this drama is going on, St. Francis to prove his chastity, threw himself naked into the rose bushes and rolled around, and so then when he got out, there was no more thorns in the rose bushes, and so those roses are still growing in Assisi, and it was really after that kind of moment of in their relationship is like started to become clear, like this is Saint Clare and this is Saint Francis, and and they're kind of forming their communities and stuff like that. But it's just like the a truly holy friendship is going to be so foreign to the world. There's not going to be categories for people to understand it.
Yeah.
Holy Buddy System. Saint Scholastica and Saint Benedict. It's just like their ability to relate to each other. Brother and sister, but it's like they're like there's examples of like what that can look like. Yeah. So I keep asking Curly if she'll let me shave her head. She keeps saying no.
The Holy Spirit's not asking you that, so.
Maybe once the crunch routine is up.
Yeah.
And Emily's
Once I'm
volunteering
done with the
that.
hair. Oh.
Yeah. Teresa
Avivla.
Valentine Cross. Yeah.
Avivla.
I have two screens happening here. I have to look up there to type. No, that's still not right.
Are we close to our battery replacement for our little
It's not. It doesn't tell me until it freaks out.
until it freaks out? Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
So new CSU tradition, just shaving heads.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'd also like to add that there's, like, the theme that I'm seeing through all of these holy friendships are, like, the fruits of it. Like, where are the fruits? And we have roses, for one. We have wonderful writings from St. Teresa and St. John. And St. Scholastica and St. Benedict. We have rain. There
Yeah.
was that
Thunderstorm.
one time, that thunderstorm. So, like, the fruits of it.
There was that one time where she's like, "Don't leave."
The fruits of that the whole world gets to enjoy now, but then the fruits of their holiness too.
Mm-hmm.
And so, speaking about that, so we have a question up here on the screen, and this is a question that I think has been talked about a lot. And so we just talked about friendship, right?
Yeah.
And I remember we've heard you talk about these different types of love, right? And so distinguishing, the question, by the way, is how do you know the difference between friendship love, as you guys just explained, and romance, and how can we ask God to help us discern the difference?
So, I'd say the Greek way of talking about it, eros and phileo. It's like there's a friendship love, and then there is an erotic love. And one would point more towards that desire for giving yourself to the other, as opposed to like a spirit of cooperation, like a companionship, doing things together. As opposed to like I need to give myself to this person. Those are two different kinds of movements in us, and so that they certainly can be mixed, and I would recommend they be mixed. But that so like how do I enter into relationship with this person? Well, as love as a relationship, it's going to take kind of certain qualities, a certain way of being. And so if like in a brotherhood, we're working together in a kind of spirit of cooperation, striving towards the same goal, it's like there's a lot that happens to us through that. And it's like, yes, I'm giving and taking, sharing in this community. And it could properly be called love. And it affects us and transforms us. And then there's that romantic eros, that desire to give. And I think as a guiding principle here, it still begs the question, is this a person that I can give myself to? Like, we might have the desire, but there's a difference between the thing that I am feeling interiorly and that this is something I can give myself to. So for instance, is my phone something I can give myself to? Like, it might have an intimate place in my life, in that if I walk out of a room and I don't have it, I freak out. But I can never enter into that level of relationship because it's an inanimate object. Same thing with animals. It's like a person of the same sex. It's like there is a certain limit in my capacity to enter into that level of relationship. But it's only in the complementarity of the sexes where a new possibility opens, that is the intimacy of the conjugal act. Mm-hmm. And so I would say that's really the heart of the church's teaching on like why fornication is so terrible, is because like you want you're desiring a tremendous spiritual good that is being hijacked because you're trying to seize it outside of the commitment of marriage, and it will always elude your grasp, and you reduce it to something less, and it becomes something that's actually harming you instead of giving you the very thing you're trying to get. So that we can see in a person this capacity to give ourselves, and then comes is like, okay, there's that desire that gets fostered. Well, even that desire has a transformative effect on us. And so, like, to quote the ever great St. Augustine, prayer as an exercise of desire. Like, there's that desire being inflamed, and it's stretching me, molding me in ways so that the being inflamed, but the not yet, that it has a wonderful effect on us that we absolutely hate. And then comes entering into that relationship, like we talked about, the formation that could happen in dating. It's like, yeah, so when you start entering into like deeper layers of intimacy, of getting to know a person, that they have a deeper access to who you are and the things stirring in your heart and the conversations that happen there, the ability to speak to those, to be hurt at that level. It's like this affects us in ways that other things wouldn't. So that the longing has a purpose, the coming together has a purpose, but it still has to be directed to a proper end, right? Because the difference between, like, am I called to friendship here? Am I called to give myself here? That giving yourself has to be highly discerned. That this isn't something that was going to be clear right away. Because it's ultimately the question of, like, am I called to marry this person? And then when that question gets answered, well, that doesn't make the feeling suddenly go away. It's just like, well, what if you, with your spouse, discerned, we can't have any more children now, but you still both have that desire to come together? It has to be discerned. Well, what if you are married to somebody and have that desire for somebody else? Well, that has to be discerned. Should be able to be discerned very quickly. But then it comes, so it's like, well, what is this desire doing to me? And so, like, the virtue of chastity, of like how to enter into these realms and not be afraid, and trust what the Holy Spirit is going to do to me through these things. So I would say that's my short answer for the different. Like, we have many more books we could dive into. But.
You could always just seek out a thorn bush.
Yeah.
That's always...
That's a good idea, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And wait, also, so agape with a dog, not possible.
Correct.
You heard it here.
That's true.
Yep. Yep. So the very nature of the relationship.
So would you say that, like, starting out at, like, assuming friendship love would be the way to kind of go, and then discern the rest as you go?
So that a human being, I would say start at agape.
Okay.
As in our Christian identity. That would be the starting place.
Personalistic norm.
You
Yes.
must always.
So die for that person,
Mhm.
but you don't have to be friends with them.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
So friendship might actually not happen,
Mm-hmm.
but then it could.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I'd say.
And you don't have to be romantic with somebody to die for them either.
Right.
Absolutely.
Important distinction.
That the intimate part, the eros, is going to be always exclusive.
Mhm.
Or rather should be.
It will be.
Speed round.
Do you know what
That's
time?
what that's what it's looking like. All right.
My
Someone
boy.
first.
It's time for the speed round.
You know what that sound means?
Will you survive? Carly probably won't. Who would you save, Jesse or Baby Yoda?
Jesse. Jesse's real.
Favorite holy day of obligation?
Christmas.
Which heresy annoys you the most?
Do we get options here? Okay, guess not.
Which
All right.
heresy?
Protestantism.
Yes. So,
Would-
yep. Good one.
Would you rather have everything sound like you're hearing it through a tunnel, or everything look like you're seeing it through frosted glass?
I frosted glass. Yeah.
Would you rather have a constant headache or a constant stomach ache?
I think I already have both. I'll go.
If you could get rid of one, which would it be?
If I could get rid of one, I'd say headache.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Fruit by the foot or Gushers?
Gushers.
Interesting. Which Ninja Turtle do you identify the most with?
No, I definitely have an answer for that.
I just know that they're named after artists. That's all I know.
Okay.
Leonardo.
Leonardo? Okay. Carly, which dinosaur, if you had to be eaten by a dinosaur, which one would it be?
T-Rex.
T-Rex?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get over quickly.
Father Justin, you get to permanently shut down any one restaurant. Which one do you choose?
Interesting. Checkers.
Checkers. There you go.
Definitely.
Carly, are you a Muppet or are you a man?
I'm a Muppet. I'm a Muppet of a man.
Father Justin, would you rather never be able to read a book again or never be able to watch a movie again?
Never watch a movie again.
Carly, favorite way to relieve stress?
Reading a book.
Father Justin, most useful item that you own?
Most useful. I'm gonna say my chalice.
There you
Carly, 3 words to describe you. Go!
go. Awkward, really kind, and okay, yeah, that's 3.
That's 3. Really kind.
Awkward and really kind.
Awkward, really kind, and cool.
Not that.
Suave.
Father Justin, least favorite movie?
Least favorite. I don't keep those categories in my head.
What's your walk-up song?
Salve. I'll go with that. Salve Regina.
What's your walk-up song?
Dang it.
Hurry up!
Be not afraid. I don't know.
Okay. There you go.
Is it over?
Be not afraid, I go before
It should have been
you
O Fortuna.
always. That's your walk-up song? They're like cowering in fear.
But be not afraid. It's fine.
Okay. Interesting answers.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we survived the lightning round. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always a little bit rough. And so next we have the distinguished honor of hosting the weekly Nerf gun review
Oh.
with Father Justin.
Is it
Is
time?
this the music for it now?
Mhm.
I like it. Okay, sounds
like
good.
Behold our newest submission. So it has the price tag from the thrift store. This is a little older model from Nerf. I would like to do a little quick test on this guy. But I first have to discharge it. So this guy is intended to deploy.
Whoa.
And then has an attachment on it for a light on the front. It also has a carrying handle with a built-in scope, much like the original M16. A pop-up front sight, rail along here, rail on the top of the carrying handle, and a rail on the bottom of the barrel. It also has a detachable barrel, and as you saw it deploy, it can collapse.
Why does it move so much? Jeez.
Do you hear that creaking?
Is
But
it a suitcase gun?
Yes, it is.
Jeez.
But you might notice it does make a lot of noise.
It's so extra.
So, okay. This guy has a extended magazine. It reads 18. I've yet to test it, but it seems to feed pretty well. Is your Nerf gun here?
It is, yes.
I would like to do a quick
Do you think I
comparison.
would come here without it?
So, in looking at this one, I observed that this is a very similar magazine.
Awesome.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And it's also the same mechanism.
Ah,
The pump mechanism.
they are kin.
And so the way that it actually slides around the top of the dart of the one means when it's cocked, you cannot disconnect the magazine, which is also the case in this one. So it has the same mechanism for firing as that one. But far improved is that the cocking handle is on the bottom, so you actually have sights able to maintain your target and cycle the gun, which is my critique of every Nerf gun ever. So this guy is definitely in the right category. Other than why everything has to wiggle so much, I don't know. This barrel, like every Nerf gun, doesn't actually do anything, so it just makes it super long. So the light doesn't work either. So I think this would definitely be the configuration to use. I do like the extended magazine. I do also appreciate the fact that it is a side-loading magazine, which is not really the style these days, ever since the Vietnam War came out. But as a side-loading magazine, what it enables you to do is to go very prone on the ground without having a big magazine sticking out the bottom. Because if you're here and trying to lay on the ground, you can't get very low, as opposed to you can get all the way down on the ground, and it's not going to interfere with your magazine. And right-handed shooters, it's sticking over here, so your body mass is already here, so it's not something over here that you're going to get caught on. I do have a critique on the location of the magazine eject. It is not very good. It has a little clearing port over here for your jams, which is helpful, which yours does not have.
No, it doesn't.
And yeah, it's not a great trigger. It's not a great handle. It's a little too small. And this guy unnecessarily is in the way because there's nothing in that.
Yeah.
And
It doesn't fold up into that or anything?
the handle folds up, which is why it's so wiggly. So when you close it, the handle folds in.
Okay.
As opposed to just leave that open, leave the handle down. But then it doesn't clean up the profile. There's another built-in light in it as well. But this is a nice compact package. And the other thing, because it matches yours for the magazine size, means it will also fit mine.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah.
A little extended
18
mag.
versus 10. It's pretty good.
So this guy would mount very nicely on there as well.
Looks like if you look out the side of the gate right there, you
Oh,
got
yeah.
a little issue.
Thank you.
Could have just opened fire, but you know I'm nice like that. So
That'd been great.
That's what the clear viewport is for.
Your gun is protecting me. Ow.
I'm not out of ammo yet.
Oh,
ow! Right in the
Okay.
temple.
I'm out now.
I got one more. Who's it gonna be?
no. The glasses got hit. The forehead got hit. It's too late.
So my favorite part is definitely the extended magazine. That is quite helpful.
That somehow hurt.
Because there were 3 of them.
I have one more submission.
Oh, yes.
I have a second.
Is that in? Is this? What is this?
It's a light.
Okay. Just doesn't work.
It needs batteries. And it has a little on-off switch. So it has 2 lights built onto it, actually. Somehow I don't think they're going to be all that effective. Okay. Our other submission is a vampire wood stake that has been hand-carved and prepared for the event of a vampire showing up. So I don't think it's ever going to get used, but this actually came from a tree that grew up in a backyard of a rectory that was just chopped down, hit by lightning. So I'm pretty sure that's both of those factors are going to influence its effect on vampires.
Right.
And so it's a splinter from the tree coming down, but it turned into a nice splinter and had enough to carve in a handle, which was wrapped and then reinforced with copper wire.
Nice detail.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure this will break if you try to do anything with it. But it is intended for one-time use. So very
No.
nice job, handmade.
Well done, Eric.
Yes.
Kudos.
Golf clap for Eric.
Very nice.
That's it.
Nice. Cool. So what score does the Nerf gun get?
I'm going to give, for design, I'm going to give it an 8.
Nice.
For execution, I'm going to give it a 4. I think if they pursued this model, they could have done a lot more with it.
Fair.
I was trying to find a good spot for it to
Yep.
stop. So far, we need to have, I think what would be a good idea is if we had like a leaderboard where you could kind of just like slap on where in the stack they all add up, your favorite ones, and move them around accordingly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
I
I'll
think
get
that
on
would
that for next time because we have so many now at this point that we need to have a visual to compare them by.
Yeah.
Right, for sure.
I would say this is probably my favorite design. So far.
The one that the Transformers
Yeah.
thing.
As far as,
I mean, that's pretty cool.
yeah, that part's terrible. But the mechanism for
Yeah.
you could do that all day.
You've been saying for weeks that you want a pump action
On the
Nerf
bottom.
gun.
This is what it needed to be.
There is a pump action rival blaster at Target.
And like somebody needs to upgrade.
This is good. They just need to support the handle more, get rid of this whole thing, and get the magazine back in there. Clean this up, put a sling on it, and you are ready to go.
Ready to go.
ready for your CSU Nerf war.
Never seek a war, but always be prepared for one.
Have a plan. Be very nice, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet.
Terrible rewording of Keith Salt Lake Carrier Big Stick.
Hey, I didn't come up with it. That's
General Mateus, or
no, that's the Marine General. Oh, what's his name? Mattis. Mattis said that. Yeah.
isn't that what it said?
Is it? Oh, Mateus. It's Mattis. It's Matthias. Mattis.
Mattias? In the Greek?
Mateus. Yeah, James Mattis. Mad Dog Mattis.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, so he's just a bad plagiarizer.
yeah, I mean, I guess once you become a general, you can just kind of get away with that kind of
You
stuff.
say all these things.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I mean, General Patton thought he was reincarnated 18 times, whatever. He has some crazy stuff that he said, but everybody brushes over that, so it's okay.
Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's looking to be about that time, so you need something? Hello. Oh, okay. Let's see. That's okay, a loaded question we have up on the screen. This is
It's not loaded, it's heavy.
yeah, heavy is the right word here.
Yeah.
How do you try to find your way back to Catholicism if you feel you are moving away from it in your life? Moving away from that life.
That needs a lot more information because there's a lot of things that could be going on. But if I would say just in general, big picture, it sounds like you're in desolation, which means it's going to pass. And there's something waiting for you on the far side. So don't give up.
That's a very reassuring and motivating version of something that I've heard you say to me, to various people before. Keep going.
Keep going. Yep.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you're dying inside, and that's what needs to die. Yeah.
Let the past die.
Stop holding on.
You're still holding on. Like, oh, we're
No, but we,
people are never gonna ask for advice ever again. Just, I'm sorry.
Star Wars
I'm
advice.
not trying to make light of the situation.
And sometimes, talking to somebody can be helpful too.
Yeah.
Somebody who can who's been through things before and can give a little bit of guidance. But there's real things that can be obstacles, like if an event happened or kind of our philosophy of life kind of shifts and it starts affecting our faith. And but ultimately, Holy Spirit doesn't matter what we're going through; He never abandons us. So. He will always help get us through no matter what. So we can trust Him, even though we don't necessarily even see how He's working here. It's the giving up is where we get stuck.
God will show up.
Yeah. So it's perfectly possible to get stuck in a spiritual spot, but if we keep persevering with Him, being patient, He'll get us through.
If you're the type to read, there's a lot for that too. What were you gonna say?
For sure. I would say definitely talking to people, talking to somebody that you trust about it, and then also that person that you've trusted, intercessory prayer with them, asking for them to pray for you and pray with you in that moment too, is very helpful. I found just knowing that you're not alone and inviting someone else into that moment with you.
I think the honesty and self-awareness that it takes to identify that something like that is happening within you and is a good sign to begin with.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can speculate all kinds of reasons, but sometimes the faith of your childhood is insufficient for the questions your adult heart is asking. And it's sometimes it's the growing pains of moving into an adult faith.
Yeah. There are some things that they just don't tell you in CCD
CCD.
classes.
Yep.
That might not have been enough. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Why don't we teach kids about desolation?
I don't know.
It's a great thing to know about.
I think it's super helpful.
Yeah, we have a very easy to understand graphic
Mhm.
around here somewhere with
Yeah.
little movable parts and everything.
The kids really like the magnets.
Great for kids. Yeah,
Yeah.
magnets.
How are you feeling today?
Great.
And every time I read that, I can totally just see. So, how are you feeling?
So how are you doing?
So how long have you been in desolation? So, you dyed your hair again. You're probably wondering how you got here.
Answer: desolation.
It's like those Captain America PSAs. It's like, so you're in detention again. Let's get to the root of the problem.
Dye is better than bangs.
Are you speaking from experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Never regretted dyeing my hair.
Mhm.
Regretted the bangs every day for the past month.
And things that are, temporary is much better than things that are permanent,
Mm.
such as, desolation tattoos and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Are there
Oh,
other
I-
types of tattoos?
No, that's all tattoos, yeah.
Wait, you want to repeat that? The dogs can't love
Mhm.
desolation tattoos. Man, you're keeping up the
Bangs.
streak with the hard hitting
Bangs.
truths.
Shaven heads,
Yep. There you go.
So shaving the head. That
Then you
how
have
do we know if it's
She had to wear a veil after that. So she wanted. So the issue was commitment to a new way of life. The Cortez burning the ships when he got to the New World, no going back. That so what St. Francis was doing is like, is this a rich girl kind of getting back at mom and dad and flirting with the bad boy who's
Mm-hmm.
on the outskirts of town, or is she serious? Like, because the only thing he was offering was holiness. And so that was his test.
so if you're not doing that, then just don't shave your head.
All right.
Okay,
Then what's the point?
that's simple enough.
That's like St. Paul shows up one day. Hey, why do you have a bald head now? I made a vow. That's literally his answer.
It's not a desolation vow.
Right.
Nope.
Still no?
Still no. Yeah.
You mentioned Cortez. This is only going to take a second. I gotta say this. All right, this is a little piece of history for today that I'm very passionate about. This has nothing. I swear I'm gonna stop after this. So, Juan Ponce de Leon discovered Florida, right? He brought with him all of his Spanish cows, but when Emily knows where this is going. But when the Seminoles and the other Native American tribes chased him out of the state and caused him to flee into the islands, he couldn't bring his cows with him, so he left them behind, which over generations became the first indigenous cattle population.
I don't think that counts as indigenous.
But so they became wild.
They
Right.
had to get here somehow.
Yeah, everything
Fe-
is from
feral
somewhere
cows.
else. The first wild population of cows in North America. And so when the colonists came down to Florida, there was just a ton of cows for the taking, but they had to wrangle them up themselves.
They're like, who does this belong to? There's no brand.
No one.
Some dude left
It's
them.
mine now.
Yeah, that's literally how it went, and that's how the Florida Cowboys came to be. And that's what I tell people when they doubt the existence of Florida Cowboys.
This is the first cows.
the first population of cows. We didn't start in Texas. Didn't start in California. It started in Florida.
We are the beef state.
Mm-hmm. And the Sunshine State.
Yes.
We got oranges too. What else could you want?
We have beaches,
Snow.
Yeah,
Oh.
mountains.
mountains, and snow.
Yeah.
Westerners just like to. They just have some elitism about their cowboy
Mm-hmm.
heritage, and
Yeah.
it comes out when you talk about Floridians, and it's just ignorance. And it's
It's just ignorant.
it's injustice.
Wow.
Yep, Theo said it. There you go. And they're, yeah, I'm done. That's enough of my Florida
Your Florida,
cowboy history for
history.
today. We can explain how they got their name next time.
and we just made a new segment. So.
Mm-hmm.
You're excited to talk about Florida history, huh?
I have a lot to say on that topic.
History
Yeah.
rant segment.
History rant segment.
Yeah, there you go.
Tune in next
You
time.
know what really grinds my gears?
People doubting our cowboy history. Would you be so kind as to close us in prayer?
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Come, Holy Spirit. Come, Holy Spirit. Lord, we thank you for this time together. We thank you for bringing us together for daily masses again, to join together to enjoy the wisdom and the goofiness of one another. We thank you for all the wonderful opportunities that we've had to see you throughout this day, and all the wonderful opportunities you will give us for tomorrow. And Mama Mary, I ask for your intercession that we may have our eyes opened to see the ways that your Son is loving us. We thank you for all of the ways that you intercede for us. And we desire to grow to be more like you in gentleness and docility to the Son. And we ask this as we pray. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Well, thank you both for joining me this evening.
Thank you.
It was a good time.
Indeed.
We covered a lot of different topics, and thank you all who are watching for joining. Thank you for your questions and your comments. I hope that you all have a fantastic week and that you will join us again next time. And I am a man, not a Muppet.
Ponder that.
Good night.